Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm the Tooth Fairy, Derek Master.
This is Scream Plenty Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and we have the Fairy Dragon and the Tooth Fairy as brothers in arms.
Yeah.
How is it going today, guys?
It's going.
I had a root canal this morning, so I'm actually better off than I was when I started the day.
That's always a good way to start.
That's good, yeah.
I did not expect that.
Yeah.
How are you feeling today? How are you feeling about it?
Good. I haven't taken any medication since this morning. And I was popping those babies like candy. And by medication, I mean Advil.
Okay, just for the viewers out there, do not do that.
I mean, if you go by the recommendation, but
yes,
Advil
but
actually helps a lot.
Don't pop medicine like candy. Don't ever do that.
Even if you're in severe tooth pain.
Yeah, no, I had deployed a strategy. I told Jamie about this because it was waking me up through the night.
Yeah, that's when you know it's bad.
Yeah, and then I would take the Advil, and then I'd have to sit there and watch the clock for 40 minutes for the pain to go away. So then I was like, I got a great idea. I'm going to chug a bunch of water before I go to bed. That way in 2 hours I have to get up, and I'll just take more pain medication. That way it doesn't wear off. And guess what? It worked.
Nice.
Good thinking. What if you didn't wake up and you just peed the bed?
That's a Quincy problem. That's not a me problem.
It's like what if they shot you in the face?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes you got to be a little risky. And it was worth it.
And risk it for the biscuit. So tonight, guys, speaking of dreams, we're going to be visiting the man of our dreams, or should I say nightmares, when we revisit Mr. Krueger in tonight's flick, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. But before we get into that, I got to get into some of this horror news. We don't have a whole lot, but we have some kind of weird, interesting, and exciting news. You ready? Start with this one. So, Billy Crystal is starring in a new supernatural thriller for Apple TV called Before.
Before what?
That's just what it's called. Before stars Billy Crystal as Eli, a child psychiatrist who, after recently losing his wife, encounters a troubled young boy, Noah, who seems to have a haunting connection to Eli's past. As Eli attempts to help Noah, their mysterious bond deepens.
Ooh.
So, Billy Crystal in a supernatural horror film is not something I had on my bingo card.
No.
So what do you guys think of this?
Sounds good.
Billy's good in anything he does. So,
yeah.
Sign me up.
Billy Crystal's one of my all-time favorites. So a great director too, but I mean, man, the classics of Billy Crystal, of course. I loved the City Slickers movies as kids too.
One of his movies might make this show one day.
Well, Throw Mama from the Train is like an underrated classic. It really is. Perfect Hitchcock parody.
With him and Danny DeVito?
Yep. Or as I like to call him, the Trash Man. That's an old...
And it's got... you've seen The Goonies, right? I don't know her name, but the old lady, the mean old lady. Yeah, she's in it. She's Danny DeVito's mom.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, this comes out Friday, October 25th. So that sounds pretty cool, right?
Sounds interesting.
All right, we're going to continue on to our I Know What You Did Last Summer coverage because it's becoming our new Munsters. Hopefully it turns out better.
Don't do that, man. Don't jinx it like that.
Dude, we get triggered anytime someone says monsters.
Yeah, what are you doing?
So here's what we know so far. It says Caitlin Robinson, who is the Jennifer Caitlin Robinson, who is the director of the film. She has stated that they're not retconning the sequel out of the canon, so they're not pulling like a Halloween 2018 where only John Carpenter's Halloween is canon. So in this universe, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer happened as well.
Okay.
So it's because she says somebody asked about it, and she said it is definitely canon. I hope this helps.
How about I Always Know What You Did Last Summer?
Of course not. That's definitely not canon.
Okay.
That's not even made by the same filmmakers. Yeah, that's.
I was just seeing where the line was.
Nobody gives a shit about that one. But yeah, so that's, what do you guys think of that? You glad that they're keeping that sequel in, even though we haven't done it yet on the show, and I have thoughts about it. But
Yeah.
I remember the general premise of it, but I don't remember if it was good at all.
I remember if it was good or not, and it's not. But we'll talk about it another day. But let's move on to this news. This is really interesting. I don't know what this is about. So we got a weird unofficial sequel to the Charles Bronson movie, 10 to Midnight. So if either of you guys ever seen 10 to Midnight, it's a Charles Bronson movie from the 80s, like 1983, I think. Yeah, 83. It's about, basically it's a slasher movie with Charles Bronson as a cop that's hunting down a slasher. It's kind of good, very interesting, right? I liked it. Well, these people made an unofficial sequel to it. It's called 12 to Midnight, starring a Charles Bronson lookalike called Robert Bronzy. And we got a trailer.
Is this a parody?
The plot is it concerns a detective despondent after the murder of his wife and forced to resign, who was brought back to the force when a new string of murders seemed to connect it to his wife's, and the killer appears to be taunting him. Only the killer appears to be superhuman. It's a werewolf, by the way, guys. He's fighting a werewolf. But I've got to show you guys this picture because, holy crap, this Charles Bronson lookalike looks like Charles Bronson. Like, it's kind of fucking wild. Look at this.
He's a rough dude.
Doesn't that look like Charlie Bronson?
It does look like him. Yeah, I agree. But
look at this picture here on the trailer.
Hunting a werewolf. What's the wait?
And then the poster here. Look at this. That is looks just like fucking Charles Bronson. That's also Tito Ortiz, isn't it? Randomly. What do you guys think of this wild thing?
I don't know what to think of this.
Yeah, I don't get it. So is it a sequel or is it a parody? Is it a...
It's kind of a parody sequel. You know what I mean? It's basically just heavily inspired by it, but it's an unofficial sequel to it. It's like a spiritual sequel to 10 to Midnight. But it's so weird.
I'm at a loss for words.
I've never heard of anything like this. I saw this thing, and I was like, is that Charles Bronson? Then I was like, oh no, it's a guy pretending to be Charles Bronson. That is weird. So I thought I'd share it with you guys. We have to do 10 to Midnight on here. That's interesting. When I was a kid, I was a huge Charlie Bronson fan. My grandpa used to watch Charles Bronson movies, so I did, of course. Especially the cheesier Death Wish sequels. I used to watch those all the time.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, guys, Scream Factory has announced some more upgrades for 4K. And the list here has me pretty excited. I'm going to be freaking upgrading my 4K collection here soon. With some of them are movies I already own, but we are getting Death Becomes Her on 4K on October 22nd. right? Drag Me to Hell on 4K on October 29th.
Right on.
Devil on 4K on October 8th.
Could do that.
Land of the Dead on 4K on October 15th. The Wolfman, the remake, October 22nd on 4K. And then, guys, this is perfect for me. Shocker on 4K, October 29th. Gonna be upgrading Shocker for sure. You guys know how I fucking love Shocker. What do you guys think? I mean, this is a pretty big list of flicks, huh?
Yeah, some good ones in there.
Yeah, I'd love to get Drag Me to Hell on, upgrade that. And we need to do Devil. We haven't watched that one yet.
I know.
Yeah, that is a good one. Man,
I was just thinking about that one.
I've thought about that one a couple of times. I was just thinking of the greatest title for a movie ever. Are you guys ready? You guys know what the titles are. Are you guys
Slight
ready?
Frown?
No.
Devil, a slight angel.
No, I was gonna. We should make a movie and call it The Devil's Forks. What do you guys think?
Devil's Forks?
Yeah, because he's got his trident, his forks. The Devil's Forks. And, the sub thing could be what's for dinner? You.
That is probably the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
People who
That's on the level of fucking 12 to midnight. It's gonna have a Charlie Bronson double with fucking Tito Ortiz dressed as a devil.
People who make those terrible movies need to hit Derek up, I think.
They 100% need to hit Derek up.
They're like, we're running out of ideas, and Derek's like, The Devil's Forks.
Yeah, he's like,
yes, this guy!
I am somebody's hero. Okay, I'm
Derek is
over here.
Derek's his own fucking asylum factory. Just pops out asylum films.
Oh, it's true. I love it. I love it.
And the best part is he produces my films. What does that say about me?
Yeah,
that's why I'm the content guy.
Notice he's never let me name one of them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't want to know what you would have named them.
He's like, I got a great idea. I got a great name for your slasher movie. Knife Killer!
I'm a little more original than that, guys.
Stab Face!
I'm not 9.
Kilgore!
No, I'm picturing though Devil's Forks. I just picture a devil just eating a big salad with salad forks.
I think of it like a Jim Carrey from Cable Guy, but instead of holding up a cable, he's holding up a fork. That's what I think.
That's even worse!
It's red
That's
instead
better.
of blue.
That's so much better.
That reminds me of those direct-to-VHS movies that you used to see, Jack Frost.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, no.
That's right up Derek's alley, though, with the gingerbread and the turkey, the Thanksgiving turkey one, and the
forks. The Devil's
Lumberjack Man.
Is it are they possessed forks? I don't.
Oh, I got it. See, we're developing this movie. So here's what happens. It starts out in a trailer park, and this guy's doing tattoos on his trailer.
Okay,
and he's giving people a devil's trident. And then they go out and they do evil stuff. They got to work out some details here, but this is coming together.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he's tattooing people.
He is.
And then
you had an actual idea.
Yeah. Huh? He's tattooing these people and he's making tridents, and then he fucks one of them up and it turns into a fork. So that guy is out for revenge.
No, I've got way more depth to my idea.
Look what you did to me. No regrets.
Yeah,
okay, wait.
Because then it's he's there.
I got one.
They're his utensils.
What if
Of evil.
what if the tattoo artist is like into like devil worshipping and like he curses them when he tattoos them, and then they have.
There you go, Lydia.
Okay, that sounds.
Still would not call it the Devil's Forks. 100% never would call it that.
Yeah, I think that's a solid name.
I think there's well, you're calling it a trident, but I think it is like a pitchfork. That I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Does the devil have a trident?
You're probably right. I don't know.
It's a trident for sure.
Okay.
If you called it the Devil's Trident, that would be better. Still kind of a goof-ass name.
Like a band, that sounds like a band name.
It does.
Yeah, but then you couldn't have like the sub thing. What's for dinner? You.
But that has nothing to do with the plot of your story.
Yeah, because he's eating their souls.
You just made that up just now.
I just googled it. It's a pitchfork for sure.
Well, see, there you go. I was right the first time. The Devil's Pitchfork.
I don't think anybody should call this movie should never ever get made. It should be locked into a vault and then thrown into the bottom of the ocean.
It is in a vault right up here. Right up here.
And there it shall stay.
We should probably get back on track, guys. I'm sorry about
I know.
this
I'm
little,
trying. I'm trying to get us back on track. All right. And then we got this last bit of horror news before Derek interrupted us with horrible film names. We got some Scream 7 news, guys.
Scream 7.
So, Neve Campbell was asked about it, and she says that the focus of Scream 7 will be Sidney Prescott's story. So she says, being interviewed by E.T., we're going to follow Sidney. They did pitch the concept to me, and it's the reason that I jumped on board. I love these movies. They are so much fun to be a part of. I'm so grateful for them. I can never have imagined being a part of a movie that has lasted this many decades. So Sidney's definitely not just a side character in this. She's the lead. How does it make you guys feel?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I mean, we've been over this 100 times, guys. Like, come on, it's freaking Sidney.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, that's exciting. You guys haven't watched the two newest ones, which is shameful. We'll have to get to them.
Just because I'm too scared.
I know. I was going to make you go to the other one with me, but I went by myself instead. Because you were too scared. I think I saw both of those by myself. I see a lot of movies by myself. I'm kind of sad that way. But it's on the way, getting made. Remember, Kevin Williamson is directing this from a script written by Guy Busick, from a story by James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick. So they should start filming here anytime. And we'll know for sure what the story is, but Scream is continuing. But I thought talking about Scream would be the best way to segue into tonight's film, which, of course, was the brainchild, the not this particular film, but the character of Freddy Krueger was the brainchild of, Wes Craven. So, guys, picture it. Picture it. It's 1988. And the biggest character in the world is Freddy Krueger. This is the time. This is the time to be a Fredhead. I mean, this is at the point where Freddy was getting, his TV series was on. This is the point where we had the 900 number to call Freddy. Did you guys know about this?
No.
I think you told me. You told me about it, I think.
Yes, there used to be it was like 1-900 call Fred or something like that. And or 1-900 Fred, I don't remember what it was. But you would call Freddy, you call the number, and you get a recording from Robert Englund speaking to you as Freddy. And you get charged for it because it's a 900 number. So kids definitely racked up their parents' phone bills for this Freddy Krueger hotline. Freddy was everywhere. Freddy shirts, Freddy merchandise. And this is the movie that cemented Freddy as the pop star, the pop icon. So, the little backstory. This movie was made right before the script was finished right before the writer's strike. So this is a strike movie. And Rennie Harlan, the director of Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger, The Exorcist: The Beginning, and the new Stranger movies, is the director here. So guys, is this either of your first time watching A Nightmare on Elm Street 4? The Dream Master.
This was like a first watch for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I've definitely like seen it on, but I couldn't remember like specific, any of it really. So I don't know. Yeah, this might have been my first watch.
How about you, Derek? This is definitely your first watch, right?
Nope, man. So I can't remember the last time. I'm trying to think back if you and I watched this, like within the last 5 or so years. I have seen this movie many times. And watching it, like there were scenes I was just like, oh, I remember this, I remember that. Like there were things that were just so I couldn't have told you from A to B what the plot was, but like going through it, I'm like, remember that, I remember that, I remember that kill, I remember the pepperoni on the knife, the guy's face.
Yeah. There's some very, very memorable visuals in this one. Very memorable ones. Yeah, this is not even close to my first time watching this. Like, I've seen this movie since at least 1990, probably. Like, I watched this movie all the time. It wasn't... So the ones I watched the most when I was a kid were number 3, part 3 was the one I watched the most. And then Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, because I had it on VHS, had it recorded. And then Nightmare 1. This one was one I watched more as I got a little older, because I just didn't own it. So I'd rent it from the video store constantly. I'd rent it. And there'd be times where I would have like a Freddy marathon, so I would rent the ones I didn't own. So I'd be like, oh, let's start, and I'd rent them all. And I would always watch this one. So I've grown up with this movie. So basically, if I wouldn't have watched this movie last night, I could have 100% walked you through the plot of it and the scenes, and I could have walked you through the kills, and, because I know it that well. I've seen these movies so many times. As you can tell, Freddy was my guy back in the day. He was my guy. So this movie is where Freddy becomes the Freddy that we know, really, is this movie.
Mm-hmm.
The Freddy that you think about. I mean, it started with Nightmare 3, started bending that way, and this one he's solidified as popcorn Freddy at this point. And this movie, by the way, guys, humongous hit. On a $6.5 million budget, it made $50 million in the U.S. Huge hit.
Dude, I hope Robert Englund took some points on some of these projects.
Yeah, for sure.
As opposed to the cash.
So, where do you guys want to start with this? Where do you guys want to start with Nightmare 4? So, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is we have some returning characters. We have Kristen, we have Kincaid, and we have Joey. However, Patricia Arquette did not want to return for Kristen, so she was replaced here by Tuesday Night, who does a fine job for what she's given. I mean, she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But these scenes, I think, would have played better if it would have been Patricia Arquette, because we would have felt more emotion to it. But it
was... Go ahead. Finish.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, we're far enough removed that, like, I thought that was the same character, but I had to look it up because it wasn't the same actress. So I just wanted to confirm. I'm like, I know that this is who this is. So it was before she got into like putting people into her dream.
Yeah. So I think these scenes would have more. Her death, especially, would have had more impact if it was still Patricia Arquette, because we kind of wouldn't have been expecting it.
Yeah.
Because her death kind of does come out of nowhere to a degree. It's a good kind of rug pull, similar to the first movie. But it's great to see Joey and Kincaid back I love those guys, especially Kincaid. He's so
Yeah.
he's so funny.
Yeah, he is. He does kind of like jump out at you. He's a very, I don't know.
Boisterous.
I don't know. Yeah, there you go. That's a good word.
Very boisterous personality. So let's start with Freddy's resurrection. Like I said, this movie was being developed during the strike, so they had the bones of it, and they were fleshing it out while they were filming, pretty much. I mean, they had the structure. But they were like, well, how are we going to bring Freddy back? And Rennie Harlan just kind of said, he just comes back. He's like, we're going to have a dog piss fire, and it's going to bring him back. And I was like, hey, you know what? In the context, it works perfectly fine. I never questioned it. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You know,
That was
you're
one
just like,
of the scenes where I'm like, remember this. I remember the
so
dog being
that
fire.
junkyard set piece is really fucking good, I think.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Like
thinking it looked really familiar.
Well, it's technically the same junkyard from part 3. I mean, that's
Okay.
why
Mhm.
he's there, because they buried his bones in the ground of the junkyard.
Oh, yes, okay. I forgot
Yeah,
about
so
that.
that's why they're there. And that's why the bones come to life, because, yes. So we're led to believe that Kristen messing around in the dream world is what kind of summons Freddy back. And the fear is enough to bring him back, is kind of what it's alluded to. Then the dog pisses fire, which is funny. But we don't get any... There's not... Freddy is a superhero in this movie. Like, I mean, his first shot is not like a scary shot. It's, let's show him standing, let's zoom in on his fucking cool shadow, and then let's do a push-in on him looking really cool. And guys, he looks really fucking cool, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
He's back.
Like a rock star.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I think this makeup
Yeah,
is
right.
really great, too. I think this is a
Mhm.
great iteration of the makeup.
Even the, like, reanimating his body, I thought for the time period.
Super
looked
fucking
pretty good.
cool.
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
cool. They do, like, the reverse wax melt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dude, every scene that has, like, this insane amount of effects going on, I am like, that is so much work. I'm, like, sweating just thinking about how much work that
Dude.
took to do.
And it was only made for $6 million,
Yeah.
It's kind of
It's
crazy.
insane.
This came in out in 88?
88, yeah.
Because they had to have, like, 3 different versions of every single thing that was going on, and there were so many different things going on at once. Like, you'd have, like, the melt, and then the organs, and then the, skin, and then the eyeballs, and, like, every
Yeah.
single little thing probably took so long.
And you had multiple different effects going on, because you had they had to melt the wax for the rebuild. They had to pull apart the spine and snap it back together. They had to inflate the organs and deflate them. It's like, so all of those different effects just to bring Freddy back to life. My favorite shot of that is when we see the eyeball fill in. It just looks really creepy and really cool.
It's like fluid, like...
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
And then you have the rest of the
16
movie.
million. Yeah. Rough conversion is about 16 million if you were to make that today.
Yeah.
I'm sure it actually would be a little bit more, but yeah.
So yeah, it's a super small budget for a movie of this magnitude. It's the fourth
for
Nightmare
sure.
on Elm Street movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I can't imagine how many effects went into this.
So his Kincaid's actual death, he just gets stabbed. It's okay, but he does have a fucking great line when he says, "I'll see you in hell," and Freddy says, "Tell him Freddy sent you." You're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I feel like the tone in this one is much scarier than a lot of the other ones. Like,
It's-
the
I think
tone-
it's-
like, Freddy's tone himself is, like, just scarier somehow. Like,
I think he's more fun than he's ever been in this
you think
movie.
it's more fun? Well, it's fun, but it's also, like, he is, like...
He's meaner, maybe. He's
maybe
mean.
that's what it is. Like,
Yeah.
he's, like, ferocious in this movie, like, relentlessly.
He's mean, but he's also funnier than he's ever been, because we get some
Yeah,
cool
'cause
bits.
Those one-liners are the best so far,
Dude.
I think.
So Joey's kill is one I remembered as a young man
Oh,
very
I
well.
bet you did. I bet
Don't
you
pretend like you didn't either, Derek.
I remembered it when I saw it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. Of course you did. Of course you did.
The waterbed.
The waterbed.
Uh-huh.
It's such a cool concept and a cool idea that she's
That
swimming
blew
under
my
there.
mind. That blew my mind watching this. I was like, whoa.
And then Freddy's great line, "How's this for a wet dream?" is chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, fucking
Yeah.
Freddy.
The scariest
Joey's-
thing is his mom finding him in there. Like, what?
Yeah, in the blood,
Yeah,
all
how
in
the
the
hell
water
did
is
it
a
get
great
in there?
visual. Yeah. And then, of course, the blood in the water before she finds him, like when she finds him, he's in there. But I loved seeing like the pillows floating after Freddy, dunks him and kills him. It's a cool visual. And then Kristen's death is. So we'll talk about that in a second. But I want to reach on our new characters. What do you guys think of our new batch of teens? Because I think they're pretty likable.
They're pretty likable, but some of them are kind of extreme.
I mean, a lot of them
Her
are
brother?
their caricatures. I do.
Yeah.
I kind of like her brother a lot.
I'm not saying I don't like him. I'm just saying he's
Rick. I like Rick. He's like
kind of a doofus.
he's the epitome of like the '80s character. First of all, but what I like about Rick, what sells me on Rick is like his absolute love of his girlfriend and his sister. I just love how sweet he is.
Dude, but there's two scenes in this movie that just are like, one is his karate scene, like him training in the house. I'm just like, oh
Dude.
my god.
I love that. I love it. I love the music that's playing is fucking badass.
The
I'm like-
music in this is crazy.
The music is good.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
montage is just it. And then the only other one is when after somebody died. Maybe it was maybe it was after.
I know what you're talking about. It's the run, right?
It's the run, man. It's the
Yeah.
run. I was like, I cringed at that run.
That's
But-
not his fault, man. That's direction. I mean, that's the tone they were
Yeah,
going
man,
for.
that is also true. I would have had him redo it, but yeah, those are the two things that I'm like.
Yeah, I like his character a lot, and of course, I like Alice. Full disclosure, I've had a crush on Lisa Wilcox since I was probably 4 or 5, because of how many times I watched Nightmare on Elm Street 5. So I love Alice, and I think Alice is an interesting character, and a cool I like her kind of setup, how she daydreams, so she's already a dreamer. We kind of get that set up, and she's mousy, and then so her arc is, completing that and becoming the Dream Master, which is a really cool arc. And then so our other two teen characters are HiLa, who is the nerdy girl, and then Debbie, who is the exercise girl. What I love about Nightmare movies, and it's kind of, you could say a little cheesy, but it's very economical, the way we're introduced to all of these characters, because we're kind of introduced to them, their strengths, and their weaknesses, all in one scene in the parking lot.
Mhm.
So we know that Alice daydreams and she's mousy. We know that HiLa is a science whiz, but she has asthma. We know that Debbie is a tough workout girl, but afraid of bugs.
Yep.
So it's like we see all of these things that pay off later in just that one scene. In the way they're introduced, when we were working on our Nightmare script, and I was writing the opening, when I was writing the scene, when we're introduced to the main characters, literally like this. Like I had them walking to school, they run into each other, and they all have these interactions that set up the stuff. Because I was like, that's just a Nightmare way. There's like a tone to it, like a way you do it. And I've always loved that for some reason. It's very economical. Because,
I really like their relationship too, of like how they are like kind of being mean to each other and picking on each other and teasing each other, but they're like they laugh it off so easily and they're actually just friends, even though like their cliques wouldn't mix well in other movies,
Yeah. I also like we're introduced to Dan in this scene as well, who is the love interest and a super fucking sweet guy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of the lead males except for Alice's dad, who gets a redemption arc in the next movie, is a kind of an a-hole. So
Well, yeah,
after
the brother climbs down from his bedroom window because he doesn't want to.
Yeah, Rick doesn't want to
him.
deal with his ass. Yeah.
And I got to tell you, man, that dinner scene. Damn, I haven't wanted to reach through a monitor and strangle somebody in quite a long time.
Yeah,
he invoked that.
Yeah, when his whole what am I, a rabbit?
Well, just the ungratefulness of that.
Yeah.
Like, that's your daughter, man. That's not. And not to say that your wife would be that way, but like, that's your daughter. She's a teenager.
And
you should have been buying pizza and bringing it home, asshole.
He like sat down expecting to be fed immediately. Like I was like, oh hell no.
Yeah, and he comes home slobbering drunk, and just like that's why I liked the karate scene because it's like his outlet because he wants to. He's trying to control something, and then when he hears his dad pull up and he has to just like center himself and then go out there and then try to stick up for his sister while trying to keep the peace is interesting. So there's a little bit going on under the layers of this movie, which is funny because it's such a commercial, just, popcorn horror movie. But Kristen's death, her scene is one of the most iconic because we get the Freddy shark fin. But most importantly, we get to see Freddy wearing sunglasses. And he looks hilarious, and it's so fun.
That
laughing maniacally.
I love it.
Yeah, yep. Puts on the sunglasses, yeah. And so, the fact that we get the plot is that Kristen is the last of the Elm Street kids. So once she dies, Freddy's cut off. Unless she brings somebody else for him. So she brings in Alice unwittingly and then passes her gift to Alice. So Alice can now pull people into her dreams, and then Freddy uses Alice as the conduit to bring him more. So that's the dilemma. And Kristen's death itself is okay. I mean, she gets thrown into like a fire. But what do you guys think of Kristen's death? It would have been more effective if it was Patricia Arquette.
It would have.
Yeah,
although and I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who took it this way. I love, and they set up the the plot like later with an exposition from the teacher. But like, so in the last movie and in this movie, Kristen can bring people into her dreams, right? Which is kind of powerful because you can create a team. But I really like that. What was her name? The new girl?
Alice?
The girl you had Alice. Damn, I couldn't remember her name. She kind of has a superpower herself. She's a lucid daydreamer. Mm-hmm. So I thought that like them kind of ushering that power to bring people into a dream to her like was kind of borderline genius. It creates an alternative like super person.
Yeah, and she's also the dream master. So basically, whenever somebody dies, their power goes to her. So she gets more powered. So when Kristen dies, she gets her ability to pull people into her dreams, and then she starts taking on personality traits of her. Like she starts to smoke in the bathroom. She's like, I don't smoke. Mm-hmm. She starts to kind of talk about Freddy way more because that's all fucking Kristen talked about. But guys, what do you think of Sheila's death?
Oh man, Sheila's got the best death.
I think Debbie has the best death, and we'll get to it.
Yeah.
But Sheila's the
what
one
do you guys...
who has asthma, right?
Yes.
Yeah, all of these deaths, like when I was watching them, I was just like going back to watching it the first time. Like to something you said earlier, this movie has a lot of memorable deaths.
Yeah, and good visuals.
Yeah, huge nostalgia watching this movie.
So, yeah, Lydia, what do you think of Sheila's death here?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was like really fun. The effects were so creepy and weird when he like, and like the line, you get the line of him like, what does he say? Like, you want to suck face or something? And
Yes,
he like, sucks the life out of her. And there were like so many things going on. I was like, oh,
there's like the weird robot hand that comes out of the
robot hand that was like CGI'd in somehow.
Yeah, it was rotoscoped in, is what it was. It was definitely like definitely rotoscoped in.
Definitely.
Comped in.
But, and then there was a real one there, and then it was, you know.
Yep.
And she was like, yeah, because I really like this whole scene because they're in class, and
Alice falls asleep and brings
Alice
her in.
Alice is like seeing all of this, and it's just like, why isn't anybody doing anything? Like she's like, just sitting there freaking out while this weird robot arm is coming out of her notebook. Yeah, I don't know. It was great.
Yeah, and then of course Freddy sitting there cutting an apple in the teacher's desk is funny and fun.
Yes, yeah.
Then the suck face bit. Well, there's also a funny bit where Kristen passes out and she's in the nurse's office. And we get the nurse that's clearly Robert Englund.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And turns into Freddy. And he said, I want to donate some blood. He starts spraying blood everywhere.
Yeah.
That seems fun, right?
That was fun. I was like, I see you in there.
I see you, Freddy. Don't you even try.
That's a good trick, though, I feel like.
It's a good one. So, guys, my favorite death. Let's talk about it, because it's... No, actually, first, let's talk about... The next death is Rick's, which is the weakest death in the movie. And it's 100% a last-minute thing. So here's the thing. Remember when I told you about that writer's strike? And they were kind of putting things together while they were filming. There were different versions. Ones where Rick lived. Ones where Rick died. They were going back and forth on what they should do. Should he survive with Alice? Should he die? And so, you know when he's in the elevator, right? That was supposed to be his death. Is it supposed to be this big scene where the floor falls, breaks out of the elevator, and there's this whole sequence with Freddy in the elevator, big crashing thing. They ran out of money. So they couldn't do it. So they scrambled to figure out a death scene for him because they already filmed the funeral scene. So they're like, well, we have to kill him since we already have this bit. And so that's when they're like, well, let's bring back the karate and let's make it as cheaply as possible. So they put him in a room with some hanging banners and just had him fight an invisible Freddy because what's cheaper than fighting an invisible enemy?
And that's the rest of the story. That's interesting.
Filmmaking,
I
man.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
It is filmmaking.
I mean, you
it
kind of
made
wouldn't
sense.
know. Yeah, you kind of wouldn't know because they did, pay off an earlier thing, so they set it up and paid it off.
Uh-huh.
I was going to say, I didn't even question it.
Yeah, and it's not terrible. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, God, that's the worst. You just take it at face value. You're like, okay, he's fighting an invisible Freddy, and then the claw gets him.
Yep. I was like, yep, that would suck.
Yep. But that's why the elevator death would have been way fucking cooler, probably. But I mean, that breaks everyone.
Yeah, I gotta say, for trying to make cheap movies, not movies that look cheap, but cheap movies, you can definitely respect the decision that they made because like with the bag, like Lydia said, you don't really question it because it went along with the story. So that is kudos to the creators.
They put it
on that project.
Correct. They put it together in a way that made sense, right? So you didn't question it. So you're like, okay, yeah, cool. But me knowing the backstory, having watched this movie a million times, seen all the DVD features, and own and watched the 9-hour Never Sleep Again documentary, I know all of these little stupid tidbits. But let's talk about my favorite death in this movie, which is Debbie's death. Guys, Debbie's death to me is an all-timer. It's an all-timer. the fact that the way her arms break when he's doing that, and it's so nasty looking. You're like, oh my god, he broke her arms, and then the bug arms start coming out. Lydia, were you like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I was, and I was also eating.
Mistake number one.
I was like, oh dang, she like was really pushing on that, that weight that she was holding. Because like you could just easily like, you would have been strangled, but
yeah,
your arms go back that far for sure without just ripping. But yeah, that was nasty. And then the little bits start coming out, and yeah, gross.
Dude,
and I was like, oh, because she's afraid of bugs.
Yep. So Freddy's preying on her worst fear.
Yeah.
When she gets into the Roach Motel and it like pulls off her entire skin, is so cool. It's such a great effect.
Yeah.
She's in that.
That's when I was like, had to put down my cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like,
yeah.
And then Freddy's, it's such a cool visual when he looks his big eye into it. And, you're like, oh my god. Then he says you can check in, but you can't check out. And then crushes it, and that nasty goop falls out. It's an all-timer death. It's the makeup effects on it are amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing stuff. Loved it.
I agree.
It's like kind of got some of the Thing in it,
Yeah, some of the things, some Cronenberg as well, like some Cronenberg Fly shit.
Fly, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Totally.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Guys, then we get some other great bits here. So when she's trying to make it to Debbie, and they get into the loop, is so cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
The time loop that they find themselves in.
Talk about confused.
Did you think it skipped?
I did. I'm with Lydia. That's exactly what I thought at first. I was like, is that just a bad edit? But then it happened again, and you're like, nope, not that edit. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is familiar. I'm pretty sure this happened.
Yeah, me and Jake both looked at each other like, did something just like happen? That's so funny.
It's so good, and then
it's so good too, because especially for me, like I have dreams like that where like it will just repeat. Like I'll get stuck in a loop in my dreams, and it happened to me last night.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So it felt, hit me right in the feels. I was like, ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
I don't like being stuck in a loop like that.
Yep, it's cool. I love the way they play it, and I love the visual of when they hit Freddy, and the car just crushes in on itself, and then we see that she's wrapped the car around a tree.
Yeah, that was crazy.
The next great visual bit is when she falls asleep and goes to the Crave Inn, and sees the older version of herself.
Yeah.
Before we get to Debbie. Yeah, get it now, Crave Inn.
I did not notice that at all.
Yep.
On a first watch.
Yep, Crave Inn Diner. So, but that's how, she brings in Debbie. But
that was cool, though, yeah. Seeing herself old.
And then the theater, when she gets sucked into the theater, it's so cool. It's great, like, the way they did it. Everybody's sitting there, and she's just being sucked in vertically. It's really neat.
That's where I was like, how many crazy effects are in this movie?
It's just a lot.
It's like that theater scene that I was like, they're still going with these. Like, this is crazy amount of like good effects.
And then we get the pizza that Derek mentioned. What'd you think of that?
Oh gosh, the pizza. So gross. Me and Jake both laughed for sure when we saw it with the actual faces in it, and then you see like the meatball face like up close.
Yeah. I love
so bad. It looks so dumb, but it was like,
he says
really nasty.
He goes, I love soul food. He says, Rick, you meatball. And then when he eats it, it's so disgusting.
It is, because you see like pink fluid like squirt out of it.
Yeah, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I do not like meatballs either. So that was like double whammy for me. I was like, now I don't ever want a meatball.
You remember that scene, right, Derek? As a kid,
Oh, I did. Yep.
still hold up.
You wonder what it. Yeah, it does. I think it does, and you wonder what it actually tastes like. And man, Robert being able to like hold it down, hold it together, putting that in your mouth, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah, that shit tasted good for him at least.
Yeah, I know. So our big third act here, when she discovers, when she collects everybody's powers, and she reveals the mirror, she sees herself finally, and we get that bit. I love the bit where she's like, just the music's playing, she's doing the nunchucks, and then she's like,
gosh.
"What's happening to me?" Yeah. What'd you say?
I said me.
Yeah. It's
anytime I pick up nunchucks, that's exactly what I want to happen. It's
Yeah.
like I'm a natural.
Yeah. And she's like, "What's happening to me?" I love that shit because the music kicks ass, and you're like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Dan's,
I like that too.
She goes in to save Dan because Freddy's in the operating room gonna get him, and then we have that cool like tunnel that Freddy spins in their like all Jabberwocky before he gets pulled out of the dream, because they pull him out because he's starting to bleed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Don't worry, we got you." And he's like, "Put me back in."
Yeah, I didn't understand that, because I was like, when he started to fade out, I thought he was like dying, like on the table, and I was like, "Oh, that's like really sad." And then he was just like awake, and I was like, "Oh, it's fine."
Yeah, they just pulled him out of the dream because it wasn't an abrupt. They had to bring him out, so he ghosts out.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the final confrontation with Freddy? I think it's a pretty good final confrontation. It's one of the better ones.
I agree with you, and it had me all the way up to just the way that she killed him. I wish they would have went a little bit more with that, where she just showed him his reflection. But, it was really great. It was a great little fight.
Yeah, I think I love the bit where they're standing on the pews, like John Woo style, and they have like a little fight. And I love when Freddy's like just kind of, like being all cocky and shit to her, and he's like, "I've been in charge of my land for a long time, bitch." Shit like that. Yeah. And there's some cool stuff.
Flips over him.
Yeah, that's cool shit. And then when she uses the thing to electrocute him, blow a hole in his chest, which is a really cool effect too. And then he just waves it away like magic. And then so the reflection thing. It's not that mirrors kill him. It's that the dream warrior
I understand.
is holding the mirror. Yeah. And she, it's the rhyme. It's the end of the rhyme. Evil sees itself and dies. So
yeah, no, I get it.
It's the culmination. And I love the effect when he's having his meltdown. It's so fucking crazy. The hands coming out of his head.
Yeah, that I agree. Out of his back and like grabbing onto it, and no, I agree with that.
Out of his head, you see the souls in his chest trying to get out. The people in. You know how they filmed that? They had a giant Freddy fucking torso.
Yeah.
With nude actors inside it, pushing up against the latex. It's crazy. There's actually a scene, you can find it, where it falls over with the actors inside at one point.
Because they were pushing on it too hard?
Yeah. But it's literally just a giant Freddy torso, which is crazy. But I love all of these little effects.
One of those effects that it's like, you actually have him with all the makeup on, and then you have a giant version of him with the souls coming out of his body, and then you have the other makeup of him having a false head that gets ripped open.
Ripped open. And then you have him with his shirt open anyway with that makeup on. So it's
Yeah.
there's a lot.
a lot of work there. They had to
And
build an
it's-
entire torso
Yeah,
with people to act in it. How many days did it take them to film that?
dude,
You know?
it's
No
just so
kidding.
crazy. It's so crazy, and it looks great.
It does.
The one on his head always was so crazy because the way it flops his head back, it's so creepy.
He's
and,
able to pull.
yeah,
And like,
and it pulls
looks
back.
so
Yeah,
gross. Yeah.
it's so cool. And then when
Yeah.
it rips his actual face open, and you know, and all the souls
Dude, that
escape.
one like goes in his, it's like he's biting the hand, and it's like, ugh.
It's a great. I think it's the best of the Freddy meltdowns. I really do.
It's a good one for sure.
It's the best one. And then we get the souls escaping, and then I love the image of like his just empty clothes falling, and then her kicking the glove, like fuck you, bitch,
Yeah.
It's great. Then we get the ending at the fountain,
Yeah.
and the little wish, and we see like just the hint that Freddy might still be out there when we see his reflection. But then we don't see him anymore. We get a fucking kick-ass 80s song to end it. What do you guys think of the third act as a whole? The whole ending of it. What do you guys think?
Love it.
I agree. It played pretty well, and that last little bit in the fountain, you knew there was going to be a sequel.
Well, yeah,
Which,
they definitely knew after the
yeah.
opening weekend.
Yeah, and I looked up part 5. It wasn't as successful, but
No.
But I do gotta say, when you kill a character off like they did in the third one, like you don't know if they're coming back or not. So they didn't leave that cliffhanger. So I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, it's just kind of a hint that he's still out there.
Yeah,
so that way,
I really like that, especially after the first, in the first movie, you have that too with the car and the window and the door or whatever. But and that's kind of, you're like, well, that's kind of goofy, but it's great. But it's also like,
and
this
like,
was
oh,
way
man.
more subtle.
Yeah, and the third one has a more subtle one too, where the light comes on in the house, but that could be very well have been Nancy as well. But yeah, then this one we get we just get the little shot as a reflection.
Yeah, I really like that a lot.
Yeah, and that is Rennie Harlan's Derek.
Wasn't me.
Lydia,
Definitely
it's you
was.
again.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It was me. It was me.
See, my instincts were correct. You went really out of focus, by the way, Lydia.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there. Hello.
Maybe adjust it.
I don't know how to adjust it. There it goes.
There you
okay.
go.
Okay, cut all that out.
Yeah, that's how it all begun. It's all on the wayside. So, what do you guys think of Rennie Harlan's Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master? Who wants to go first?
Derek's
Derek's probably not
first.
listening. Derek's not listening. He's too busy answering his fucking text.
Yeah, what the hell?
I thought it was a really solid addition to the franchise, and I've mentioned it a couple times that memories just started flooding back as I was watching this movie, and it was surprising how much I did remember. I liked, even though, just from what you said, how they kind of threw this movie together with just like a general outline of what they wanted to do, I thought they pulled it off. Freddy looked good. He had some great lines. I felt like the passing of the torch made sense with the type of character that Alice was. Yeah, that's pretty solid. I'm gonna give this movie a 7.5.
What do you think, Lydia?
Yeah, I think it's... It's hard because I am so fond of the first movie. Like I've seen that one so many times, and I've seen the sequels like once. So
Yeah.
So the nostalgia isn't necessarily there, although I am jealous of the nostalgia that you guys have for it, because I'm like, yeah, this would have been so badass to see like when I was younger. But the effects are amazing. But I really do wish that the actress, who I can never remember her name,
Yeah,
what's her
Patricia
name?
Arquette.
Yes, I really wish that she would have been in this one. I think that would have bumped it up so much higher for me if she was, because I was a little bit confused about that in the beginning. But so yeah, I can't remember what I gave the last one. I was gonna go back and look, but
Well, it was Nightmare 3, so I think we gave them all like 9s and 10s. Because it's fucking
was really good.
goated. It's goated, yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could remember
Derek will tell us what it is here in a second.
my exact
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
experience that I could
You
compare
said
to
for
this
Nightmare 3, right?
one.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not 73.
Nope, that one.
Let's see here. Give me just a second.
Because it's one of those complicated ones where I feel like I enjoyed my experience watching that one more, but might have just been because of the mood that I was in today. You know what I mean? Like I was in like
Lydia,
a terrible mood today when I was watching this, so I was like,
he gave it a 9. Jamie gave it a
9.
9.5. Okay. I gave it a 9.
all right. Well, then I feel comfortable giving this one an 8.
Yeah, you know,
It's pretty solid.
I'm kind of right there. I'm kind of with both of you. I'm just going to give it an 8 with you, Lydia. I like this movie a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's kind of everything you want in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, right? Like,
Yeah.
you get some fun scares, you get some really creative, inventive deaths, and some great, inventive visuals in situations. Like it, yeah, I think, and you get Popcorn Freddy. This is the MTV Nightmare. Literally, we get a scene where Joey's watching TV, and we get an old MTV advert. This is the MTV Nightmare, and it's awesome. I think it's one that's always, if you're in a bad mood, it puts you in a good mood because it's fun to watch. You said you were in a bad mood earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did it make your mood better watching this movie?
It did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just it's a fun one. I watched it.
Yeah.
I watched it last night, and I was like, okay, you know, and it wasn't like I was like, oh man, I better watch this movie. I was like, I get to watch Nightmare 4, you know, for the podcast. Great. And I sat down and watched it and had a blast. I went to bed happy. Like, man, that's such a great one. So yeah, I'm going to give it an 8 as well. Now comes the hard part, guys. We got to aconize this.
Thrill me.
Her dad.
Who would Tom Atkins play? Yeah, okay. There we go. Yeah. He's really kind of the only character, right?
Yeah, well, he could be the cute boyfriend.
He could be Dan as well, yeah. But Dan's
Dan
too,
or
like...
John? What?
Dan.
His name was Dan?
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah.
He's what's funny about Dan is the actor that plays his name is Danny. Danny Hassel. And so he's like, did they just make that my name because they thought I was stupid and I wouldn't remember?
They're like, we didn't have time to write a name because of the strike, so you're just gonna be Dan.
You're gonna be Dan. All right. Everybody else has character names, but you're Dan.
Dan is a classic horror name, you know.
It is Dan. It's also a name of ridiculous coworkers. Whose turn is it to pick?
It's Lydia's.
It's
My
yours,
turn.
Lydia. What
Yes.
are we watching next week?
All right, so I kind of did that thing again where I'm like, I have like 3 choices that I'm kind of trying to decide between. Do we want to do a black and white movie?
That's a trick question for Derek.
A murder movie, a suspenseful movie, or a summer horror movie?
Summer horror movie.
That was 4 things, so I have 4 movies.
Yeah, that was definitely 4. You said, so listen to these 3 things. I would list these 4 items.
What are you guys feeling?
There's a great Charles Barkley bit where they said, he says,
I watched this
"What
the
I'm talking
other
about?"
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he says, I got 2 words for you. And he
2
names
words
like
for
fucking
you.
8. Yeah, it says like 8 things.
2 words for you. Steve Nash and Chris Paul. Must-see TV.
That's more than 2 words.
You didn't say 2 words. You said quick to the point.
You just said I got 2 words. Steve Nash and Chris Paul must see.
See, that's why I messed up, because I was trying to think of 2 words. I could have said that. Okay.
2 words.
Nash and Paul.
That's 3 words.
That's 3 words. Wait, I said Nash and
I got
Paul.
one.
That's amazing.
It's one of the best. What do you think, Derek? Do you want to do a black and white or a summer movie?
Or a suspense
I
movie? Or
I don't typically enjoy black and white movies.
Okay.
That's a lie.
So
You've
I
liked
should've-
every single one we've done.
I've seen that coming.
I mean, in general, I'm not a big fan.
We'll do that
No,
one later.
here it is. You thought you weren't a fan until you started watching this podcast, and then you've liked every single one.
No.
You like them.
I would
Just
say
admit it.
in general, I'm not a fan of them. We have done some good ones, but the ones we've done are classic.
Well, this one is a classic.
See?
But we can do it later. I'm really.
Let's do a summer movie. Do a summer one.
Okay, I've been leaning towards a summer movie, but I
Let's
don't
do
know
it.
if you're gonna be mad when I pick it.
Your pick.
You ready? Jaws 2.
Jaws 2.
I
I knew you were going to say Jaws 2.
We knew it. We all knew it. Yeah. Why would I be mad? Jaws 2 is fine.
Okay, good.
It's fine.
I thought you were gonna shun
It's
me.
not. It's not guys. It's not Jaws.
Yeah.
Just lower your expectations. If you've
Yeah.
never seen, have you ever seen Jaws 2?
Me?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I've
So
definitely seen 4.
everybody, unfortunately, has seen 4. I used to play on cable all the time, and it's horrible. Yeah. Jaws is Jaws 2 is fine. It's
Yeah.
good.
I
It
feel
just
like,
nothing reaches the level of Jaws. We know that. So temper your
Yes.
expectations.
I really I need an excuse to watch Jaws this summer, so we're gonna sit
Yeah.
down and have a little marathon.
Just so you're watching Jaws 2 just so you could watch Jaws.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we got to get to it at some point. you know?
We do. We have to do Amityville 3 at some point too, because it's wild. All right, Derek, do you have a story for us?
I don't.
Jesus Christ.
I didn't know I was going to
Okay.
have to pick one.
Yeah, it's really strange. It's almost like every week we ask you the same question.
It's,
Do you have any weird
yeah.
dreams? Repeating, looping dreams?
We talked about that last time, didn't we?
We talked about that
Oh, we
last
probably
week.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got plenty of dream stories. I've been having a lot of weird ones lately.
Throw one on us, Lydia.
Well, like last night. Okay, so my best friend is like a huge, massive fan of Paramore, right?
Mhm.
The band, the group Paramore, starring Hayley Williams as the lead singer or whatever. So
Yeah.
I had this dream that I run into Hayley Williams, and this has happened. I've dreamt this before, like for the record, like my
Sounds
anxiety
like a
about.
good dream to me.
I know, no, it was great. I was like so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, my best friend is like obsessed with you, and I'm like, can you like call my best friend and just say like, hey, or like, can you just like communicate with him because it would make his whole day, So I'm like, the whole nightmare is just me not being able to get a hold of my best friend because I can't get his number.
That's such a funny dream.
I like cannot get a hold of him for anything. I'm like trying everything, and I'm like, I don't know why his number like isn't in my phone. And like I can't. It was so stressful.
That is.
And then it
stressful.
just kept happening. Like I was like stuck in that moment of just looking at my phone and like just not being able to make sense of anything on it. It was awful, guys. Hayley Williams was looking at me like I was some kind of lunatic,
When
and I was like,
So-
I'm letting my friend down.
question for you, because I'm going to throw out a scenario, and I imagine you both have had this dream. Have you ever had a dream where you were either like in a class and you don't remember signing up for the class, or you were, you showed up to class and you hadn't been there all year and you had to take a final or something like that?
Those are anxiety dreams. Yeah.
I know they are.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
here's my question. If you're someone who didn't I don't know, attend school like my brother, Jay, I wonder what his anxiety dream, because it's so common that you would have like that specific dream. It just, I wonder what you fill in for that dream if that was not like a path you took. You know what I'm talking about?
With Jay, he couldn't get a hold of his dealer.
I'm going to ask him, hey man, I have this dream when, anxiety
He
or
couldn't get
stress.
his
What's that
bomb
like for
away.
you? Man, I lost my bong and I couldn't find it. I couldn't remember where I put it. Or
I was just listening to a podcast where they were talking about this, and they were talking about how they would have dreams about being in a play, and they didn't know the
Dude,
word.
that's
They
what I was
going to
tell you.
lines.
That's what I was going to tell you. I've had that dream, but the more recent ones I've had, I had a version of that, except it was filming the movie. It was... We started to film the movie, and like the crew didn't know what we were doing, and like I didn't know the script, and it's like I'm trying to piece these things together while we're shooting a scene, and we only have X amount of time to get it done, or else we lose all of our money. I had that dream just a couple weeks ago, and I'm just like, I woke up and I was like, okay, I'll be fine. I know the script. I wrote it. We'll be fine. But yeah. I had that one, and I had one where I remember being on stage and not knowing any of the lines. And I'm just kind of standing there, and I'm trying to improv. I go back, and I'm like thumbing through the script, like, what is
that's
this?
so stressful.
Oh, God. I woke up in a flop sweat. I was like, oh, my God. All right. That will do our show tonight. We're going to end on the most anxiety-filled moment possible. Be sure to comment down below on your anxiety dreams. Tell us your thoughts on Nightmare 4. Is it in your top echelon of nightmare films, or do you like it less than we did? Because we had a blast with it. You can follow us online at HiLaProductions.com. You can follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions, and on Twitter, Lydia Spooky, DDoggyMaster, and at Racket. Next week, be sure to watch the movie we're watching. What was it, Lydia? Jaws 2. The Next Generation.
I better write it down before I forget.
You can watch Jaws 2 on Max if you have a Max subscription. Watch it on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, YouTube, Fandango at home. All right. That'll do it for our show this week. So for Derek Master and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movie.